regular full board meeting Tuesday, October 24th, 2023 at 1 o'clock. Prayer. Pastor Warren Hoffman, your Insurance Fellowship, would you lead us in prayer, please?
Privilege.
Thank you.
May we all position our hearts for prayer. Loving God, creator and redeemer, teacher and guide, and great administrator of our lives, I pray for this council meeting today. We give you praise for the nation and the community in which we live. We love it. Although we are not perfect, our nation grants everyone freedoms and opportunities to flourish and seek happiness. May the work of this body continue to advance those values for everyone. Lord, we live in a troubled time, but our troubles are not new. In fact, they are very old. Our prayers today are for peace and for peacemakers. Would you give us the courage here today to humbly seek your insight, to live into our heritage of freedom and justice for all, even as we deliberate important matters for our own regional family. Give the council members wisdom and guidance as they deliberate items before them, as they discuss budgets and elements that affect youth and old people like me, as they make personnel decisions and discuss infrastructure topics like water management. Guide their words and outcome. May every choice be righteous and good in your sight. May decisions be characterized by wisdom and be for our benefit and for your glory. And God, protect those who serve this great nation and this lakeside community by their sacrifice and service. We particularly lift up those who are on the street in uniform and those who are being deployed around the world, as well as our community of veterans. Protect them and their families from harm. All this we ask in the name of Jesus, our Redeemer. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor Hoffman. Okay, we'll rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, Carrie, roll call, please.
Commissioner LaHaye.
Here.
Commissioner Osmer.
Here.
Commissioner Lalone. Here. Commissioner Peterson.
Here.
Commissioner Fournier. Here. Commissioner Konachesky is excused. Commissioner Kozlowski.
Here.
Commissioner Francisco.
Here. I'd entertain a motion to adopt the agenda, or if there's any additions to the agenda.
Chair, just the addition of the visa bill, please.
Okay, visa bills with here under carried. Okay.
Make that motion with the changes.
Make a motion to adopt the agenda by Commissioner Fournier,
I'll support.
support by Commissioner Lalone. Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. We have public comment. I got a 3-minute time limit. Come up to the podium, state your name and your address. And we'll go from there. Then we'll go to Zoom if anybody is on Zoom. Anybody in the audience for public comment?
Good morning. My name is Chris Gee. I'm with GFL Environmental. I'm here with Leanne Jewell. She's the general manager for our GFL location in your Alpena area. We've been making our way around to the county commissioner meetings with the upcoming MMP plan changes. I don't know if anybody's familiar with that yet through Eagle. We're kind of just stepping out and getting in front of the county boards to let you know that we're here to support you in any way we can, because these plans are going to require some people from the waste industry to be on these boards with you to support you. So we're here for anything you guys need. Please let us know. There hasn't been a whole lot brought up yet about these plans, so we were curious on where Alpena County was with these plans, if we started them, if there's a plan in place, and if you have a solid waste committee and what those meetings dates might attend.
Well, we haven't started because Eagle has not finalized the plans yet, but it's looking like Oscoda and Montmorency for sure with Alpena is gonna go in part of the plan,
A regional plan?
the regional planning, but I don't know, we have to reach out to the other counties yet. So till we hear from Eagle, get that final word, which was supposed to be last month. Yeah, they're moving at a government pace again. So,
And we came to the Eagle meetings down in like one in Lansing a few weeks back. We were in one in Petoskey last week. We're trying to gain as much knowledge as we can about this to try to get in front of it to help any way we can. But like I said, new to your guys' county board, so anything we can do to help you, we're more than willing to be that contributing part for the waste industry if you guys need it.
Mary Catherine will be your point person for that. So,
Okay.
okay.
And do you have a solid waste committee meeting?
No, we haven't even formed it yet because,
All right, thank you.
yeah. Anybody else? Anybody on Zoom? None?
There is, but no one's raising their hand.
Okay, we'll then close public comment. You have the consent calendar in front of you. Need a motion to approve the consent calendar, which includes actions as listed attached and final of all reports. Is there anybody who wants to pull anything out the consent calendar?
Just had a couple comments, things that I noticed as I went through the consent calendar. The first item was the facilities, and this is just informational, and I brought this up before. Facilities, and I actually just mentioned it to Mary Catherine yesterday. When I was going through the facilities minutes, one of the things that I noticed was a motion was made, but that wasn't actually added onto the consent calendar. So I've mentioned this before and just want to make sure that if there are motions that are made within the different committees, that those motions actually get carried over into the consent calendar. It was for the sale of, or the approval for the sale of the tractor, yeah. But I just wanted to mention that. One of the other things that I mentioned before, and I just went through my packet, I guess I haven't noticed it, but as I read through, I think it was facilities, one of the, they mentioned something about getting the finances to the facilities board, which kind of reminded me, I had asked before for the minutes from the NMMM. And I looked, and I guess the last one I received was back in May. And then the last item was under the IT policies and the court and public safety, we met, and one of the things that I mentioned at that meeting was not corrected, and I just wanted to indicate again that, and I know it was just a grammatical error, but if we're gonna approve them, to make sure that they're approved under the Alpena County Network Infrastructure Management Policy, it wasn't changed to say that policy includes it. It's a misspelling. So just wanted to make sure, point that out, that gets correct.
John, the sale of the 8N tractor was on that calendar. It's, yeah, maintenance departments. Commissioner LaHaye made the motion. I supported, and motion carried. It's right down below the, 212 F20 250.
But I think John means it's not on the consent calendar.
Oh,
It's on the minutes.
Yeah.
But it
it's
was.
not, was never put on the consent calendar. Okay,
That's my
okay,
point.
okay. Yeah, okay.
If I just go through real quick to look at see what's on there and then dig into the minutes. And again, I don't always read every single minute right before the meeting. It's just, again, just something so that way we can
Sure.
at least pull that out and see it.
Yep.
John, the minutes from the NMMA, is Summers from the township, just sent those out this morning because we have a meeting coming Thursday. I will forward that to you.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Okay, anything else on the sync calendar? And I entertain a motion.
Make the motion to approve the consent calendar as presented.
Got a motion by Commissioner Francisco, second by Commissioner Osmer. Any more discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner LaHaye,
Yes.
Commissioner Osmer,
Yes.
Commissioner Lalone,
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson,
Yes.
Commissioner Fournier,
Yes.
Commissioner Kozlowski,
Yes.
Commissioner Francisco.
Yes.
Okay. Second item, Carrie, bills to pay. Anybody have any questions from Carrie for we have a motion to recommend to pay the bills as submitted.
Like that motion.
Got a motion by Commissioner Osmer, support. Second by Commissioner LaHaye. Any discussion? Not roll call, please.
Commissioner Osmer,
Yes.
Commissioner Lalone,
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson,
Yes.
Commissioner Fournier,
Yes.
Commissioner Kozlowski,
Yes.
Commissioner LaHaye,
Yes.
Commissioner Francisco.
Yes.
Okay, Mary Catherine.
Yes, you have received the breakdown of the Visa bill. The total to be paid is $2,205.23. We were missing one receipt, which we have now tracked down and has been submitted. It was $25 for a item that was recycled at the transfer station at the recycling center.
Budget adjustments.
If we're going to pay this, we need a motion
We just got to add extra one. Yeah, we need a motion to pay that $25 bill.
to pay the Visa.
Make the motion.
Make a motion by Commissioner
support.
Lalone. Motion by Commissioner Lalone. I'll let you go first this time.
Aw.
And by support by Commissioner Francisco. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Lalone,
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson,
Yes.
Commissioner Fournier,
Yes.
Commissioner Kozlowski,
Yes.
Commissioner LaHaye,
Yes.
Commissioner Osmer, Commissioner Francisco.
Yes.
Okay, now the budget adjustments, Mary Catherine.
Yes, so you have the budget adjustments. As I noted, when I called people yesterday, the IT request was updated based on the recommendation from the treasurer, just clarifying how that money is to be allocated for the cost reimbursements for the IT. Otherwise, the others are as you see, unless somebody has a question.
You have a question on the action item 4?
Okay, let's take them separate then, and we'll go.
Okay.
Can I have a motion for a recommendation to approve the 2023 budget adjustment as presented, healthcare option, opt-out PA 152? No, excuse me. Yeah. Okay, it's going on to recommendation to approve 2023 budget adjustment as presented. Do I have a motion for that?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Commissioner LaHaye, support
Well, let him make.
Okay.
I'll support.
by Commissioner Francisco.
Now,
Yep.
on the action item number 4.
Yep.
I just was curious, because I read the minutes on that, as I indicated. It said, let me see here, the report, facilities indicated repair of a wall stud. What does that mean?
So the house for the caretakers had some water intrusion issues that they had not been able to diagnose. And so they went in and pulled up some of the roof tiles. It wasn't a roof issue. They pulled off the drywall and discovered that there had been leaking coming in around a window. So they pulled out, 2 studs had rotted, so they pulled those out, made repairs to the studs, redid the insulation, re-put in drywall. There has been a new window ordered. And so this $2,000 will pay for all of those repairs to the house.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Fournier,
Yes.
Commissioner Francisco,
Yes.
Commissioner Kozlowski,
Yes.
Commissioner LaHaye,
Yes.
Commissioner Osmer,
Yes.
Commissioner Lalone,
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson.
Yes. Action item number 4, recommend approval to opt out of PA 152 for 2024 and set custom employee contributions amounts as presented.
Right. So we do custom caps and custom contributions. And so in order to accomplish that, we need to opt out of PA 152 for 2024. This has been something that the county has done, I think, for quite some time. Certainly. Yes.
I'd entertain a motion to recommend approval of opt-out PA 152 for 2024. Motion by Commissioner LaHaye, support
Also for it.
by Commissioner Lalone. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Francisco,
Yes.
Commissioner Kozlowski,
Yes.
Commissioner LaHaye,
Yes.
Commissioner Osmer,
Yes.
Commissioner Lalone,
Yes.
Commissioner Fournier,
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson.
Yes. Adam, MSU Extension Annual Report.
Thank you, everyone. My name's Adam Coivisto. I'm the District 14 Director for MSU Extension. We do have some staff members from the Alpena office here with me today, and we're going to kind of break this up a little bit for you. So we're introducing our annual report, and I know you've had a chance to see that in your packets. And instead of go through that with you here, we're gonna have some staff give brief updates in their program areas. Then I'll come back in at the end and cover the addendum that I included and also. First up, we have got Danielle Jurassic. She's a community nutrition instructor here in Alpena.
Hello, I am Danielle Jurassic, community nutrition instructor. I'm relatively new to this position. I've been here almost a year and a half now. I am able to teach people of all ages regarding health and nutrition. And so this year I was in 15 different classrooms within Alpena County. I had 6 adult programs. And one of them that I wanted to highlight was a partnership with Pied Piper. And so I also partnered with Michelle 4-H, and we helped them grow some vegetables within their beautiful greenhouse. And then I took that with the kids, the students, and we were able to utilize those fruits and vegetables. And we worked on, life skills and reading a recipe, and some of those great life skills for those students to work on. So it's been a great first year, and I'm happy to be here. Thank you. Next, I have Brandon Schroeder, who is a Sea Grant educator.
Good afternoon. I am Brandon Schroeder, and I work with the Michigan Sea Grant Program, embedded within the Michigan State University Extension Program as an extension educator. I serve Northeast Michigan, Northern Lake Huron communities, and our work has an eye towards the Great Lakes and the coastal communities that benefit from those Great Lakes. So my focus is Lake Huron and counties like Alpena that benefit from Lake Huron. We work in the area of fisheries. Big part of my work has been on focused on around Lake Huron fisheries, changing fisheries. How do we benefit from that? Healthy coastal ecosystems, resilient coastal economies. But I wanted to highlight some of our education work. So Michigan Sea Grant and MSU Extension provide leadership for a regional Northeast Michigan Great Lakes Stewardship Initiative network and partnership, which is a place-based education network that focuses around engaging youth, schools, educators, and youth through their learning and environmental stewardship projects that make a meaningful difference in Northeast Michigan. So some of the things we do are direct engagement with youth out in the environment along the coastline or in the woodlands, supporting the educators behind those youth, and then making really cool school community partnerships. So in the news, you might have seen a most recent success story for us was Hosen Schools coming down to Alpena to pair up with Huron Pines and the NOAA Thunder Bay National Marine Sanctuary to put in a demonstration rain garden site to help improve water quality, which lines up with Lake Huron Forever pledge that you all are part of. And so I think what's exciting about that work is that thousands of kids across Northeast Michigan and a lot of the youth right here in Alpena are contributing to our communities and the environment that we all benefit from. So I'll leave you with a parting thought is that we had the opportunity, that network had the opportunity to host the Michigan Alliance for Environmental and Outdoor Education here in Alpena at Alpena Community College. 150 environmental and outdoor educators from all over the state came here to see how cool Alpena County is, but also to see how we're working to engage youth as partners in the work we do to make our environment and our community just a little bit better every day. So that's our work. Lake Huron, third largest freshwater lake in the world. How do we take advantage of that? And youth are a part of that conversation. So with that, I'm going to keep on the track of youth and point you to Michelle Eagling, who's our 4-H youth program coordinator.
Hello, so my name is Michelle Eagling and I'm Alpena's 4-H program coordinator through MSU Extension. I wanted to share more of success stories. Usually I kind of share the programs that we're doing, what I'm doing in schools, what we're doing in the community that links to our fair or our youth development across the county. I wanted to kind of scope back to entering. So this is, I'm in my 4th year, and I did a little numbers on kind of the success of the program, and I wanted to share that with you guys. So in the course of the last 4 years, I have had about 35 seniors kind of graduate through our program. One of the things I think that we can understand is that as youth get older, they become less engaged in those youth development programs. But I wanted to share that successfully over the last 4 years, we have put about 35 youth through, and I've been able to watch them graduate and kind of hit that end process. And when we think about those 35 youth, I wanted to share that 25 of them have continued on education. And of those 25, 4 of them have entered nursing school, one of which has graduated from nursing school. 2 have went to vet school. 4 of them have opened businesses within Alpena County. And then 12 of those youth have went into trade school, whether that was agricultural, wildlife, or fisheries. The concrete program here at MSU, or not MSU, the program here at ACC. And then, so I just wanted to kind of just do a numbers game of, out of that 35 youth, we're at 25 out of 30 who have continued education, who have went into that trade school, who have followed through to kind of be that proof of that youth development that 4-H can install into the youth in our community. Thank you.
That's an example of what some of the folks here in Alpena County do and have done over the last year. We also have some that couldn't be here today, but you'll see kind of some of their work in the annual report. And the last thing I wanted to leave you with today is the addendum to the annual report. The reason I include this is because we focus the annual report a lot on what the people here in the Alpena office do here in Alpena. But MSU Extension has programming all over the state, and Alpena County residents go to those programs. So I provided you a laundry list of all the classes that people have signed up for and attended from MSU Extension from Alpena County. So that might be an online class. They may have driven somewhere else to attend an agriculture forum or something like that. But anybody who said they were from Alpena County is counted on that list. So you can see kind of the variety of things that people attend here from Alpena. And with that, I wanted to just open it up to any questions for us.
Anybody have any questions, Adam?
The total number of those classes on that addendum, when I went through, is that the total number on your report? There's like a,
Yeah, I think the report says 84 classes, and that should be what's on that addendum, is 84 classes.
and I just wanted to kind of make or find out about this. On this list, you had 2 classes that have 0 on them. So were those classes that nobody attended or
No,
happened?
the number of sessions, if it says 0, that generally is an on-demand online class. So for example, if you wanted to go into the Beginning Farmer series and you wanted to learn how to become a farmer, some of those beginning classes are on demand. So you sign up for it and you take the curriculum as you would at your own pace. So they're not instructor led. So that's where the zeros come from.
Okay. Because I was going to say smart gardening with vegetables 101. I think a lot of people could use that.
Mhm.
So.
And keep in mind too, these are the ones that people, about half the people that take online classes don't say where they're from. I mean, it's not a required field, so these are the ones that we know of. I'm sure that if the half holds true across Alpena County as it does the rest of the state, there's a lot more people that attend classes as well.
Anybody else? Thanks, Adam. So we're going to go into the memorandum of agreement for extension services. Action item number 5, recommendation to approve a memorandum of agreement for extension services provided by Michigan State University to Alpena County, which includes Appendix A, technical standards for county internet connections for term January 1, 2024 to December 31st, 2024, in the amount of $50,277, and authorize the county administrator to sign all pertaining documents as presented. This has had attorney review. But entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Commissioner LaHaye, support.
I'll support it.
Support by Commissioner Fournier, discussion. Roll call, please, Carrie.
Commissioner Kozlowski,
Yes.
Commissioner LaHaye,
Yes.
Commissioner Osmer,
Yes.
Commissioner Lalone,
Yes.
Commissioner Fournier,
Yes.
Commissioner Francisco,
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson.
Yes. Thanks, Adam. You're all set for next year.
Commissioners.
Did forget on there.
As part of the plat contract each year, commissioners get a plat book, so I'll just leave these up with Lynn for you as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Craig Zlani from Older Persons Committee. Good afternoon. I'm here to present recommendations for 2024 funding through the Older Persons Committee, Older Persons Millage, if you will. This year we had 6 different requests from the Alpena Area Senior Center, one from the Plaza Pool, one from the Aplex for fitness for the elderly, senior discount, one from Habitat for Humanity, and one from Thunder Bay Transportation. I assume that you all have the recommendations in front of you. I think that the committee did a good job at distributing the money available this year. We had, like I say, we had 10 requests. We were about 15% underfunded, if you will, from the requests that were generated. But like I say, I think we did a good job at distributing all the funds. At this point, pretty straightforward. Any questions or?
I do, actually.
Okay.
So when this millage was first proposed to the county and passed, it did have the word housing in it. It does not at this time when it was renewed. So not that I have anything against the aging in place program, but there is no language specifically supporting that kind of program out of this millage. And my concern is when I attended that meeting, hearing things from the senior center that most people in this community would specifically think that this money goes to, that they were talking about cutting. So they were talking about cutting the insure program, and they were talking about cutting back on some other items that they provide for these seniors. So I don't love it. I mean, I just think like, if this millage ever goes to get renewed and they think that we're not doing really good with this money and the money isn't specifically going where they think it is it going to get renewed? And that would be worst case scenario, of course, but that 83,000, if that affects programs that affect like 200 seniors, like the insure program, that's 200 wellness checks. That's a food source for them. It's a nutrient source if they're not eating well. That's my biggest concern with this.
Kim, do you remember what the?
And I do know they were
Language on it.
asking for 180,000.
I don't have it right in front of me right now, but I do know that this question was raised over a year ago. And I took it to John Axe. And yes, the word housing was omitted. I believe it was a clerical error. And because for.
It's not in it.
Right. But John indicated that because it was implied, because it's renewal and it was in there before, that we were covered. But he strongly recommended that when and if you go to renew this millage, that you do have the millage language reviewed by an attorney before you put it on the ballot.
And I'm not saying that you guys don't do a good job at all. Please don't think.
No, I understand. I appreciate the comment. This was discussed at length. We had a workshop before the presentations and there was a lot of discussion on a lot of different areas. Being that we were 15% underfunded basically from what money we had available to what we could give out, if you will. So at that point in time, and then there's always the, like you mentioned, insure program.
Sure.
Or Meals on Wheels. I mean, there's a bunch of stuff that the money is all spent.
Yeah.
Well before the end of the year. We just had a transfer of funds request from the senior that they needed more money for Meals on Wheels. And that was about 3 weeks ago. And we did that and we passed it. But so, and then following up with your point about different things about aging in place or any of, they're not just picking on that program.
Sure.
But we were gonna, when we get together, the first part of the year, before we put the requests out for funding, that we're gonna address language. Languages for, different, how we wanna, if we wanna put housing back in, or whenever we're gonna do it, or indicate what priorities or whatever we wanna call it. At that point in time, there will be, I'm gonna
I'll make a request to have, you know, a commissioner or two or whatever, you know, come to our meeting and, you know, have them interject, you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Okay? Any other questions or?
I guess my concern issue revolves around the same thing. Commissioner Lalonde's point was, so I did actually talk to my representative on the Older Persons Committee, and this was one of the things that we discussed. And I guess my concern with this is the number of people we're actually being able to assist with this. And I don't know the entire thing, but as it was mentioned with Commissioner Lalonde, when you're talking about Meals on Wheels and you're talking about being able to reach a lot of individuals, we have a money that we're dedicating towards this one home repair program that may not affect or affect.
Maybe half a dozen.
Yeah.
Right.
And then we're about to, which I would ask you to stick around. We're going to have a presentation on our housing department, which, and I think Commissioner Lalonde and I had talked, and actually I talked to my representative on that board, and I mentioned that program as well. So I guess my concern is that we could use this money towards other programs or increase that amount towards other programs when we have a program that could be used at the county.
And that was, right, I have, you know, and we discussed that at, you know, we had a workshop and we had a discussion about, and then when they made the presentation, and I'm not, like I say, I'm not picking on Habitat for whatever, but there was a lot of pointed questions about, you know, in all reality, it could only help 6 people, where there's other programs, be it through the county, wherever, you know what I'm saying, that are already covering some of this stuff, where we could use some of that money that we gave out to Habitat, we could use it for what you just said, okay?
And there was a lot of, I would like to say too, for the Older Persons Committee, there was a lot of requests that they had entertaining for the millage. Of course, every single entity, the cost has gone up with inflation, rising costs, like Meals on Wheels, just the containers that they use and things like that. So there was a lot of tough things in front of you, and I'm not picking on Habitat either. I'm not saying it's a bad program. But that's the thing, it helps, on average, that program, they had around 80,000 this past year to work with. And it helped about 12 to 15 individuals to stay in their homes. I think NEMSCA has a really good heating program, and we have our housing program. I guess what I'm saying to you is you have an out here. The wording doesn't
Have to be,
support that
right.
kind of spending.
Right.
And the one thing I would encourage you not to, you know, don't deplete all of it. You could fulfill every single request with the increase on your list that was senior specific. And there still would have been around 60-some thousand left.
Right.
And then, but you know, that's the thing, you're gonna have additional requests all year long. You know, this one is short, 3,000, 5,000, and then still have some left in your general budget to be able to match those needs throughout the year. I don't know what the protocol is for spending that doesn't suit the millage. No one needs, I don't
Well,
know.
that came, you know, just what Kim said, it came up, this I think is the second year for Habitat. And when it came up, there was a lot of questions from, pardon?
24 would actually be the third year.
Third year.
Okay, but so when they first came and made the request, and there again, I'm not picking, and they all have value. I mean, all the requests have value. It just, we have to put that value in place, in the right place. But we had a lot of questions like that, which then, like Kim said, she took it to legal, whatever, right? Or-
Yeah, I called John Axe, and Mary
Right.
Captain had indicated she was going to call as well when it was discovered that that word was dropped out of the renewal millage, because that word previously was in the millages. I'd have to go at least three back. I haven't got any further back than that, but that word was dropped from the renewal millage.
So in the first part of the year, we're going to do some adjustment, or we're going to try to accomplish some, in our application for funding for it'll be for 2025. We will put some language in there to clarify some direction. And at that point in time, when the millage does come up to renewal or wherever we go, we'll have to then really hammer language.
So the
Okay.
technical response from John Axe was the language in your millage reads, shall the limitations in the amount of taxes which shall be assessed against the property of all both real and personal property in Alpena County, blah, 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 blah. Let's get to the important part. Starting for the sole purpose of providing activities and services for older persons in Alpena County. Then there is a parenthetical. And the parenthetical says individuals 60 years of age or older for social, health, educational, nutritional, recreational, and senior facility improvements and mobility services. What John Axe said, and this would be a tenet of, legal construction, is that the parenthetical is not, it is an example of what might constitute activities and services. It is not exclusive. So anything that could be considered activities and services for seniors may be considered for millage funding. So the fact that housing was dropped out of there could be indicative that somebody meant to drop housing out, but if you can still say that housing is an activity and or service, or fixing housing is an activity and or service for older persons, then the legal opinion was that it would still be available to spend as part of the millage funds. That doesn't mean you have to. That means you could. You guys could make a policy decision that is different. The older persons could make a policy decision that is different. But as far as there is nothing in your millage that would absolutely bar you from spending those funds on the housing program. And that was the response from our legal counsel.
Two-part question. So I'm sorry.
No, I know, I'm just kind of hanging out.
Just here for the ride. So obviously.
Make it easy. I'm your representative.
Yeah, I know.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just curious. So even though this board, the way we structured our agreement with the DDA, by passing that, it pretty much condones the city moving forward, and their plan is it would shave off some money from the millage. Did you have to, and I apologize if I'm asking this wrong, maybe I don't have a proper understanding. Because my understanding is some of the millage money from the older persons, meant for the older persons committee, would be redirected toward that DDA on the city side, not ours.
No, because the city doesn't take anything for the senior millage. The senior millage is only
Those
county millage.
District then? No?
Nope.
Okay.
All of the,
About using millage money, that would be,
if the county were going to participate in the TIF,
okay.
we're not, because you guys opted out. If you had participated in the TIF, then yes, the capture that represents the growth, which is how that TIF works, that is associated with revenue for the older person's millage could have been captured and diverted over into the older person or over to the DDA.
None of that would happen with this.
None of that happens with, nope. Because you guys opted out of that entirely. So all of those millage funds go right to their directed places.
I knew we did. I just didn't know if there was some sort of workaround, because it was just odd to me that was even an option for the county. So I didn't know if maybe there was some sort of workaround where the city could still. Okay, got it. Thank you.
Anything else, Jess?
Craig's been doing a great job.
Oh.
Thank you. He's been very responsive on calls and issues that we've had. And
Okay, we got action item number 6, recommendation to approve the older persons committee recommendations of the 2024 older persons grant agreements and to authorize the county administrator to sign all pertaining documents as presented. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Commissioner LaHaye. Do I have support?
I'll support it.
Support by Commissioner Forney. Any more discussion?
One last question from my perspective. So when you had a discussion on this particular grant, based on the information that I was given, there was, again, the concern that we're very limited amount of people that this will impact. How was that discussion among the group? Did the majority feel that because of even though that it's a small number, that it was not a big deal? Because I know I go to the youth and rec and they look at the grants.
Right.
So when you're looking at a very limited amount of individuals that this would impact, and the fact that we do have other entities, organizations within the community. How was that discussion?
Well, it was exactly the discussion, and we found, during that, we found that there was numerous other places that could be, like, the county housing program or whatever, okay? And that shows up with the fact that when it came down to the distribution of funds, if you were to do, just looking at from percentage wise.
This is 13% of the overall funds.
Right, so, but we only, for Habitat, they had requested 175,000. We only give them 47%. So, I mean, it was reflective that way monetarily, that we held back funds from them and we distributed it to other entities, okay? Does that answer the?
Yeah, I guess.
Well, no, I mean, it's a hard deal. I mean, we're just like anybody else. I mean, we have a certain amount of funds and we had a.
No, I get that. I'm just trying to get my head past the fact that, we're looking at a small percentage when there's other programs that were potentially cut for funding due to the fact that we're giving 82,000, 83,000 for this.
We might have to, like I say, we might have to incorporate something in our application that says that gives value to 100 seniors being affected or 6 seniors being affected. I mean, I don't know how we're gonna do that, but we're gonna have to probably address it, okay?
Okay.
Any more discussion? Not Carrie, roll call, please.
Commissioner LaHaye,
Yes.
Commissioner Osmer,
Yes.
Commissioner LaLonde,
No.
Commissioner Fournier,
Yes.
Commissioner Francisco,
Yes.
Commissioner Kozlowski,
Yes.
and Commissioner Peterson.
Yes. Thanks, Craig.
Thank you, Greg.
Thank you.
All your good, all the work you do. Okay, now comes Tony.
Warmed you guys up for me. Thanks, Greg. Tony Sushak, Chairman of the Alpena County Youth and Recreation Committee. And because there's a couple new commissioners, I just want to do a little history real quick. In 2010, in August of 2010, that's when the millage for youth and rec was approved by the taxpayers in Alpena County. That also was when the VA millage addition and the older persons additional millage was added. So that started funding projects. The Youth and Rec Committee was formed in September of 2010 and for funding to begin in 2011. So we're into 14 years. 2024 will be 14 years. And it was initially approved for $500,000 for years. And then since then, it's been approved 3 additional times. So the committee appreciates the taxpayers immensely for supporting all the projects that have been able to be done. If you just look at one area, we were able to help over the years really update the county parks. There's been tremendous investments there with a partnership with the parks and or keep Plaza Pool going, or partnership with MSU Extension, on and on and on. So that millage will fund things through 2026. The committee is comprised of a representative from each of you, which works very well because there's a voice in every district then, and that's very powerful. We love to see that. This year there were $785,716,000 worth of requests, 34 requests. In each committee member, those applications are due by May 1st each year. The committee members have to they probably read every application and the information that comes with it 3 or 4 times at least. We allow every group to have a voice, so they get to present. We take the time to see everyone. I can tell you that there's been numerous times where I've read applications and I'm thinking one way and the presentation totally changes my mind. So that's a big effect. We have a rating system. It's just not every committee member rates it, sends in their findings. I put it on an Excel spreadsheet and share it. And then we come together and really kind of have weighted averages and discuss. So we're kind of organized with all 34 of these requests and kind of discuss them as we go. This year, we were able to fund 32 of the requests for $555,910. We also added this year in the budget a contingency fund for mini grants that of $30,000, which we would like to, like in January, advertise that. That would be for maybe somebody couldn't apply in time. Maybe there's festivals that are thinking about ideas of funding, like the Brown Trout or other festivals that come up, or just other groups in the community. So we will try that this year. Some of the, you have each contract, I know, but some of the key ones, again, you're interested in, and I won't go through all of them, but County of Alpena MSU Extension, 41,200. That's the partnership that we have with them. Alpena Plaza Pool will get $90,000. Day park enhancements, again, some money to go to Beaver Lake Park. And then, and I know there's some grants that are available. Sunken Lake Park also for the beach improvements, $12,000 for them. And then some that are new or stand out a little bit. The Alpena Montmorency Alcona Educational Service District is part of a partnership with them. All new ADA playground equipment in each of the Alpena Public Schools elementary playgrounds. They haven't had ADA equipment in the playgrounds, so they're coming up with costs and donations from the community, and the Youth and Rec is partnering with them. The Thunder Bay River Center, there will be $73,400 coming out of Youth and Rec for phase 1, which will be match money for a number of grants that they have. Green Township will be getting $6,000 for the recreational facility expansions. MPAC for the ice arena will receive $10,250 for ice, new ice skates for the rentals, rental skaters. Hubbard Lake Lions is getting $40,000 for the enhancement of their tennis courts into pickleball courts. And on and on and on and on. I'd be glad to answer any questions, but all that is the grand scheme of things. Your committee members do a great job. It's time consuming. As chair, I challenge every one of them to work really hard. John Kozlowski comes to our meetings. He can kind of be your voice. I don't think you require him to do that, but we also have the county administrator and the county treasurer at all meetings. So we have good discussions, and I think it's going well. It's been great improvements. This millage has been great improvements to the county. And I guess that's my presentation. I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Tony, I like the idea of that set aside money. There's stuff that comes up during the course of the year that you have to wait for that next cycle to come up that could benefit the community. And you're talking, somebody's gonna have a carnival or something where they need some extra seed money. And they just don't know it's gonna happen to make a presentation by May 1st. So it's something, I like that idea of just having a little bit of pot out there for them. I mean, that's getting it's your discretion now, it's handed out, but it's a good idea.
Well, your point is well taken. May 1st is, 7 months before that new year.
Yeah.
When we first formed, the contingency fund was talked about, and we just never put it in the budget, but we'll see how it goes this year. And
You might use it or you might not use it, but
exactly.
it's an option to have.
Okay.
Anybody got any questions, Tony?
No, just a comment. Again, Tony, I've looked through all of the the grant or the money you look at dispersing. And I think it's wonderful because it says youth and rec, but it's not just athletic teams. You do provide support for youth athletics, but also like the robotics team. Those kind of, so I think I appreciate the diversity of the thought by your committee and, granting money from the applications that are submitted.
Thanks, Bert. And, the millage itself says it's for recreational activities for youth and recreation for Alpena County residents, as well as recreational service and improvement or development of recreational sites. Now, what is recreation? We know what youth is. Sometimes, maybe the media or somebody else in the community, although I get a lot of positive feedback, but sometimes they'll say, oh, I'm not sure that's exactly recreation. Maybe it's some kind of art that was approved at one point or something on the bike path. Is that recreation? And if you look in Webster's dictionary, recreation is anything we do in our free time. So it's really open to each committee member deciding what they feel is recreation. It could be sitting along the bike path, reading a book and looking at art in the river. It doesn't always have to be a team sport like Little League. So I need to emphasize that once in a while.
And I think you've done well.
I love the special needs prom.
Sure.
That was my favorite. Yeah.
That's a very touching event.
Yeah.
Anybody else got any questions from Tony? Not, we'll move on with action item number 7, recommendation to approve the Youth and Rec Committee recommendations of the 2024 Youth and Recreation Grant Agreements and authorize the county administrator to sign all pertaining documents as presented. Do I have a motion, please?
Make the motion.
Motion by Commissioner Kozlowski, support.
I'll support.
Support by Commissioner Francisco. Discussion. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Osmer,
Yes.
Commissioner Lalone,
Yes.
Commissioner Fournier,
Yes.
Commissioner Francisco,
Yes.
Commissioner Kozlowski,
Yes.
Commissioner LaHaye,
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson.
Yes. Thank you again, Tony, for all the work.
Yes,
Well
thank
done.
you very much.
Thank you.
Pass our regards to everyone on the committee.
I'll do it.
Now we got somebody coming and giving us money. Get up here, Gerald. Just check.
This is something new, so get prepared. As you all know, the dam is fully functional now. We're bringing the Beaver Lake down to winter level at this, we speak. And I come to give you a little Christmas present ahead of time.
Yeah.
So as promised over the years, that you've been giving me money, and we'll give you some back. I am instructing the Alpena County Treasurer to reimburse the general fund an amount of $116,790.90. It was spent upfront money on the dam, get it off the ground and get moving on. So it is there. The only thing left to do is the steps down from the roadway down to the top of the dam. But the dam is fully functional.
Okay, action item number 8 is recommendation to approve Drain Commissioner's request to authorize the Alpena County Treasurer to reimburse the general fund in the amount of $116,790.90 that was spent by the general fund for Beaver Lake Dam assessment costs. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Commissioner LaHaye, support.
There you go.
Support by Commissioner Fournier. Discussion. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Lalone,
Yes.
Commissioner Fournier,
Yes.
Commissioner Francisco,
Yes.
Commissioner Kozlowski,
Yes.
Commissioner LaHaye,
Yes.
Commissioner Osmer,
No, be bizarre. I'm just saying. Thank you so much, Cheryl.
Commissioner Peterson.
Yes, thanks, Gerald, for everything you did in that project. It was long.
Oh, with the board, I don't want no done notices. Thank you.
Okay. Hey, Nikki, we do some 101 home improvement presentation.
To follow the guy that brings Christmas gifts.
Go to give him a gift too?
I feel like I'm at a little bit of a disadvantage. Good afternoon, everyone. Lynn is gonna pull up for me because she's techie and I'm not, or she's at least as techie as she needs to be. I put together just a little bare bones PowerPoint presentation about the home improvement program. And I hope I've done a good balance of telling you enough information today to maybe help you learn something about our program, but not make it so long that I'm going to lose your interest. So my name's Nikki Yanish, and I've actually just been the director of the home improvement program since late in the year of 2021. Been involved with the home improvement program prior to that. I was in a little bit of a support role just prior to that. I was an interim director for a short period of time when there was a change of staff. But I have worked alongside the home improvement program since my employment with the county began in 1998. So geography has allowed me to become quite familiar with the ins and outs of this program, even when I didn't have a direct involvement. So I'm just going to kind of go through, I'm going to start with, what is the home improvement program? Because a lot of people don't know what we do. So if you wouldn't mind, Lynn. I'm going to start off reading on the first couple of slides. So in a nutshell, the Alpena County Home Improvement Program provides home repair assistance countywide to low-income homeowners. The program is specific to owner-occupied single-family dwellings. We don't deal with rental rehabilitation. It doesn't mean that we couldn't someday, but right now that is not how this program is set up. It is completely a grant-funded program. Grants and loans are available through the program depending on the type of repairs, the project costs, and source of funding that is applicable. All program funding is provided to the county on a grant basis to develop programs to benefit low-income homeowners. What that means is the county isn't using any of its dollars to fund this program. It's actually a common misconception out there. I've had some conversations where they just thought the county had a pot of money that they were helping to create this program. And I've had to clarify that, no, it's all grant dollars. It all comes from the federal or state level. If you wouldn't mind, Lynn. The history of the program, we've been around for a while. We've got 47 years of experience doing home repairs in the community. It does cover all of Alpena County. Since 1976, we have been receiving these grant dollars and putting them out in the community. You'll see some reference, and you see on my slide, prior to 1984, there was a window of time between 1976 and 1984 where our only source of funding came from HUD, okay? The U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. And on budget documents, you'll still see today, you'll see reference to pre-1984, program income before 1984. That's what that's pertaining to. We have loans out there that we assisted homeowners with that old money. And those loans still sit there as a lien on some of these homes. And when that money comes in, we treat it differently than any newer money that comes in. It basically becomes the county's money. There's no more supervision or oversight to that money. It's ours to receive. We can choose to help administer the program. We can choose to create a home repair program within our organization. That we can just decide ourselves how to use it. So if you hear me talk about old HUD dollars, that's what I'm referring to, okay? But ever since 1984, we've received grant dollars from the state or federal level through usually MISHDA, rural development. MEDC has had some play in there. Anyway, Lynn, if you would go ahead. This chart, I don't expect everybody to see it. I just want you to see the history of the dollars our program has received and what we've put back in the community. So it starts in 1984 after the old HUD dollars, and this one only goes up to the 2020 fiscal year, and I'm going to get more recent after this. But you can just see the fluctuation of dollar amounts, and you'll see the fiscal year, the source, the dollar amounts that we had to funnel through the program, and then how many homeowners assisted or were assisted by that funding. So that's what the last number is how many homeowners in a given year we were able to assist. I'm happy to share that information after I'm done talking, but I'm not going to spend a great deal of time on it. I just wanted you to see that this has been happening for quite a period of time.
Look how far 200 grand went back in the start of it. 40 were impacted, 40 families were impacted.
Yeah, and incredibly, that probably did some pretty extensive projects. They probably had roofs, windows, doors, all of that you couldn't even imagine doing, 4 homes with that same dollar.
2013, 8 people or 8 families.
Yes. So I'm now jumping to the most current fiscal year of funding that I actually just completed my reporting to the state on what we were able to spend. Which is why I've kind of given it its own page here. So our 2021 CDBG program income. We do a lot with program income. Program income has been something that's been flowing in and out of the county for many years. And what that means is anytime we've done assistance to a homeowner and we've done that assistance in the form of a loan, eventually that money comes back to us. It might be within the few years after we do those repairs. It might be down the road. It might be 20 or 30 years later, when they're deferred loans that they don't have to pay back until they no longer own the home. So anytime it comes back to us, it becomes program income. We receive it, we hold on to it, we wait until we get permission to respend it. It becomes federal money again, and then we follow those same set of rules to put it back out into the community. So when I talk about program income, and you might hear that roll off my tongue quite a bit, that's what I'm referring to. So this is just specifically, we had in the last fiscal year from July 1st of 2022 through June 30th of 2023, but I did get an extension to August 31st. Working with contractors in a construction season right now is not the easiest thing. So we needed a couple extra months to get everything happening through the summer. We had $155,093 to spend. I'm happy to report we spent every dime of it. A portion of that we got to keep in the form of administrative dollars to allow this program to exist. So out of that 155,093, $131,435 went into the cost of the projects. And then $23,658 into the county as an administrative fee. That's when we collect our fees, is as we are spending it in the community. Any questions on that before I move on? Good deal. Now let's talk about what we're doing right now. Some of the dollar amounts you saw on that big chart, $100,000 a year. Some of those programs were below $50,000 a year. Right now, this isn't just a pat on my back, but we've got a lot of funding going through our program right now. And figuring out how to spend it all is my biggest challenge. We're going to do it. So please don't misunderstand that. But so right now we're operating under 3 sources of funding. One is our program income that I just talked about. That's the money that we received a year ago that we now have permission to spend. I have $115,000 to spend between now and June 30th of 2024, okay? HPG, Housing Preservation Grant dollars, we apply and receive from the USDA through Rural Development. And that is usually a once a year available funding. We apply for that grant. We've received that grant. Historically, prior to 2022, those dollars always come in each year at the tune of $20,000, $30,000, maybe $40,000. My first attempt doing it, I submitted that application. I said, let's just go big. I'm going to ask for $100,000 and we'll see what we get. First time ever doing a grant application, and I got a phone call from the state office at Rural Development, and they asked if we could use more than we asked for. So that $100,000 became $137,000. And that's what you see up on the board for the 2022 HPG USDA Rural Development, that $137,220. We have a grant agreement for those dollars right now that expires March 31st of 2024. So that's currently being spent in the community, and much of that is already spoken for. We've got the applicants and we're moving that money through. You'll see right below that 2023 HPG, just because we haven't spent the other dollars yet, doesn't stop us from applying for the next round. So we applied, asked for $100,000 again, got the phone call asking if we could use more than we've asked for. And that time it was $147,000. So now we have those dollars to spend up through October of 2025. And then lastly, MSHDA. MISTA came forward with a program called My Hope, and I'm going to touch on that in just a second on what that really is, but it's basically American Rescue. I get it wrong, the ARPA money from COVID money. Basically funneling through MISTA and creating a home repair, energy efficiency home repair program. And so our organization applied and received $400,000 out of that funding. And that $400,000 is available to us to spend no later than April 30th of 2026. We do have to have that committed to specific projects addresses by September of 2024. So a little bit more crunched in at least having it committed, but we still have another whole year and a half to get it spent.
Nikki, are the eligibility criteria different for each of those four different, or are they quite similar?
Very slightly, and we're actually going to get into that next.
Sorry about that.
No apologies. So as you can see right now, we've got $800,000, but that needs to be spent between now and 2026. So if you can imagine, as we talked about budgets this morning, it can be a budgeting nightmare, and there's a lot of guessing, obviously, that goes on in how much of those dollars will be spent in each county fiscal year, but we do the best we can, so. You're not going to be able to see this, and I understand this, but this is actually now what can we do with that money? So the CDBG program income and the HPG housing preservation are a lot of the things that are side by side. They're very similar. So program income is dealing with things. So I'll just read the description. Emergency repairs are repairs that are being performed to safeguard against imminent danger to human life, health, and safety, or to protect the property from further structural damage due to natural disaster, fire, or structural collapse. Leaking roofs, people who don't have heat, hot water heater problems, septic sewer issues. It can be electrical, it can be plumbing, it can be siding that's drastically deteriorated. We can help out with handicap accessibility, just to name a few in those lists. If we get on the housing preservation side, which the rural development HPG dollars are intended for, a lot of that is the same. Housing preservation adds in there. One perfect example is we actually have a homeowner applying for an addition on their home due to overcrowding, and they're severely overcrowded. And in the world of housing, they almost put that up to the same level of severity as being homeless. So we actually have the ability to use our funding to address overcrowding. And as a matter of fact, we had to write it into our grant application that we would respond, that we would take action to help alleviate overcrowding if we were presented with that situation. HPG dollars, when we talk housing preservation, can also be used for some other incidental things that cannot be the reason for the assistance being sought. And you can go to the next one, but we can add them to a project. So it basically says HPG funds may be used where they do not contribute to the health, safety, and well-being of the occupant, or do not materially contribute to the structural integrity or long-term preservation of the unit. But the percentage of these funds can't exceed 20% of a total project cost. But what this means is we can deal with painting and paneling and flooring and cabinetry, landscaping even. So if we're doing a lot on an exterior of the home and we disrupt the landscaping, we can use these dollars to go in and replace that landscaping. But we can't just react to a homeowner coming to us for landscaping. That makes sense. Next one. So I talked about emergency repair and housing preservation, and now we have energy efficiency. So this is one pot of money that is through MISTA. It's federally funded utilizing the American Rescue Plan. That was my P word that I was looking for. Coronavirus, state and local fiscal recovery funds. So federal dollars that were given to the state of Michigan, and what the state of Michigan chose to do with it is to create an energy efficiency repair program. That's very specific and limited on what we can do. We cannot stray from that list of repairs. Roofs, doors, windows, insulation, heating, cooling, ventilation, hot water equipment, appliance upgrades, and electrical upgrades. So that's all those dollars can be used for. It's a slightly different application process because homeowners apply through an online portal that goes to MISTA. They screen those applicants basically just to the point of verifying that it's a real human being that has made that application. And then they funnel those applications to whatever subrecipients were awarded those zip codes. That's a zip code based. So we have all of the zip codes in Alpena County. And some of those zip codes that we share with other counties, the Hubbard Lake zip code, for example, flows into Alcona County. NEMSCA has those zip codes in Alcona County, Montmorency County with Hillman. So we basically got Alpena County and NEMSCA has the zip codes outside of our boundaries.
Nikki, on the income, all these grants are income based too, right?
Yep.
What's it, 80%?
Yep, I think that's my next slide.
I'm just like Bert, I'm jumping ahead.
I know, look at this, who's eligible? So low-income homeowners, HUD defines low income as homeowners whose income does not exceed 80% of the AMI for the region that you're in. So that is our criteria for program income emergency repair and HPG funding. The My Hope program went differently. They said 300% of the poverty federal guidelines. So across the board. So that is a national number. That's not local to Alpena County. So every place in Michigan has that same set of guidelines. So along the top, I can't read that to save my life. But just to put it in perspective, for one program, so for My Hope, for the energy efficiency program, a family of 4 would qualify for that assistance if their total household income doesn't exceed $79,500. That same household of 4 would not qualify under our emergency repair program. The limit for a 4-person household under emergency repair with that 80% AMI is $60,550. So they do vary. But that is so those numbers are basically given to us. We go right to HUD to get our emergency repair income limits, and then MISTA dictated to us the federal poverty guidelines for the My Hope program. So if somebody calls us out of the blue, this is, I just copied and pasted our initial questionnaire. We ask them what repairs they're seeking. We ask them if they live in Alpena County, if they own their home. Is it a mobile home? Mobile homes are relevant. There's only certain things we can and can't do with mobile homes. The MISTA money we can't use on mobile homes at all. Others, we stick to, if they have a mobile home, we can still go out and deal with their wall and their well and their sewer system, things like that. Is it their primary residence? That's a requirement. How long have you owned and lived there? We don't like to help people out that have only been there for a month. We don't want to be helping people flip homes. So we make sure that they've been there a while. Who's on the title? They have to be on the title. They have to be the owner. Do you have a mortgage or land contract? We make sure that they're in good standing on whatever lien that they already have on their home. Homeowners insurance, they have to have it. Taxes have to be current. These are all criteria to be eligible for our program. We ask them if they've received assistance from our program before. We want to make sure we're spreading the wealth. Ask them how many people are in their household, get into what their income is, and compare that with the income limits that was on the previous slide. And if they can get through that questionnaire, then we want to meet with them and then we want to dive into it. We invite them to fill out an application and we can take it further. But if they answer that truthfully, we should know right with a phone call if they meet the eligibility guidelines of our program. Great. So I highlighted some of the same things that I just said, the eligibility criteria. On the left is all of our programs, only single family homes. When we get into rentals or duplexes, must own and occupy the home for at least 1 year. The home must be 5 or more years old. Again, we don't want to be, we shouldn't be dealing with new construction anyway. Must meet the income requirements, no more than $50,000 in liquid assets. I've never had a homeowner come to us with $10,000 in the bank, but we do put a cap on how much they could have in assets and still qualify income-based. Taxes have to be current, and they must have homeowners insurance, which we already touched on. And then over on the right side for the My Hope program specifically, the homeowner has to have experienced and attest to a financial hardship due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Everybody has, but we have to ensure that they're checking that box, because it is COVID relief money that was brought down from the federal government. They have to be able to attest that they've suffered. It doesn't mean they have to have lost income. They could be, their hardship could have been increased costs, which I think every American body can say that they've experienced. Next. Program guidelines. I brought my program guidelines. I'm not opening it up or reading anything out of it, but you know, it's a good little document that's 20 or 25 pages long. We're required to have program guidelines consistent with the programs we have. So MEDC, now MISTA, our program income or the CDBG money is moving from MEDC to MISTA. So the oversight is changing, but I'm going to say MEDC because that's still where I'm at. Requires our guidelines to include our entire program for emergency repair. HPG through rural development requires that we have program guidelines that we've established as a county organization, how we're going to run our HPG program. And then MISTA, My Hope, have to have a set of program guidelines that are inclusive of all of their requirements and how we're going to run it locally. So some of the content that's in those guidelines, we as a local unit of government have the discretion to establish those guidelines. They want us to create our program from the local level. But we have lots of rules that we have to follow and include within these guidelines. But just so that you know, we have guidelines specific to the Michigan My Hope program through MISTA. They are approved by them. We don't get our order to proceed until they've approved our guidelines. And then the same is true, emergency repair and HPG are consolidated into one document to cover both programs. There's so many similarities about the two that it made sense to put them together. And our program guidelines just went through a complete overhaul just a little over a year ago. We had created a special ad hoc committee. I know we have some new board members here that weren't part of that, but we created a special ad hoc committee to really just dive deep in them item by item and make changes where they made sense and how to spend these dollars the wisest and how to help the most people the best. And then we've come up with the guidelines that are in place today, and they went before the board and were approved back last October. I then pushed them to rural development and MEDC, who has to give their seal of approval on the guidelines that we've come up with. So I'm happy to share those full guidelines, and I could email those to any of the commissioners that wanted that, if that's something that you want to see to dive into the whole document. Okay. I did touch on a couple of local things as far as how we administrative run the program of what's in the guidelines, and these were part of what were created a year ago when these were put in place. The first one says that asset limit to qualify can't exceed $50,000. $50,000 might seem like a lot of money to help a homeowner do a repair on their home, but $50,000 doesn't go as far as we would like to think it would. But if you have a retired couple that is just literally on $1,000 together on a Social Security check, and they actually have a life savings of $50,000 and they have something, tragic happen with their home and they need help, it seems reasonable that they could still qualify for our program based on their low income and not have to spend every dime that they have in the bank. We used to have that dollar amount at $10,000, which was there, I think, since 1976. It was reasonable back then. It was less reasonable in today's times and the cost of doing repairs. So it was the consensus to increase that limit. Like I said, I don't have too many people. I have people I think that are offended that I have to ask them that question if they have that kind of money in the bank. And then we did put in there that the housing director has the authority to proceed on projects not exceeding $15,000. We wanted to come up with a cap that we could do smaller, more emergent situations without having to wait for the next board meeting. We put in, gosh, 6 new furnaces, I believe, last winter, and people who literally had no heat. So to have to stall the process and not be able to move forward on something that's intended to be an emergency repair program, it just made sense to put some discretion to move some projects along. And then anything over that $15,000 limit, I come before the board, and I do that through the tongue-tied through the facilities committee. And then that same $15,000 is also our cap for whether we grant the assistance or whether we offer that assistance in the form of a loan. So projects under up to $15,000, we don't put a lien on their property. We just come and do the repair and wish them well on their way. And then anything over $15,000, we do all of our loans, 0% deferred mortgages that sit on that home for the lifetime of that mortgage. What I basically said there, projects over $15,000 will be in the form of a deferred 0% interest loan, and will have a lien placed on the property for the life of the loan. Deferred loans are due and payable when the property is no longer the applicant's primary residence, upon applicant's death, or transfer of ownership through the sale of property. Repayment of those loans becomes future spending in the form of program income, which I talked about. We're getting close to the end here. Talked about program income. What is program income? It's loan repayments or recaptured funds from all CDBG state programs during the fiscal year from July 1 through June 30th that total $35,000 or more. Funds must be spent during the following fiscal year on emergency repairs only. If we don't spend those dollars, we have to get them back to the state. Why is this relevant? Well, now what we have in outstanding loans right now, we have a lot. The bottom line numbers, right now we have 171 loans out there. And like I said, some of these go back to the late 1970s. And the total of money expected to come back to our program at some point is almost $2 million, $1.95 million. There's a variety of different loans in there. I talked about that old HUD money early on in my presentation. So we've got, I believe, about $200,000, $231,000 is that old HUD money. That's money that will come back to us eventually. And we don't have to put it back out for any specific rules. We as an organization can decide what to do with that money. It becomes county money, and create our own program with it, help administer the program and such. At the top, all of that, the 1.625, that is program income. Every dime of that comes in, we then spend back in the community the next year. Some of these we receive payments on a monthly basis, $25, $30 a pop. Few homeowners that pay $100 a month. Some have to make payments to us, some don't. Some just choose to because they want to bring that lien down off their home so that they don't leave their family burdened with a lien on their home when they pass away. HPG, we've got some money coming back to us, and that totals $97,000. But in a nutshell, we have almost $2 million in loans out there in the community. And we get payoffs, we might go 3 or 4 months with no payoffs. We might get one every week for 4 weeks straight. It happens. People pass away, people sell their home. And that's how we get our money back. And then that's how we create future spending. The application process, I'm going to review it in a nutshell, and this is going to be the end of my presentation, just so you know what we're actually doing in that office. We meet with applicants, we review their eligibility, that initial phone screen that we talked about. If they pass that test, if you will, they submit an application with us. It's then my job to take everything that they've put in their application, all of the verification requirements we have, because we dive in and make sure that their income is what they say. We dive in and make sure taxes are paid, insurance are paid. We verify their ownership. We verify how long they've owned that home. So we have to verify all of that. And then once I'm satisfied that all of those requirements are met, I reach out to our program inspector, who presently is Mike Kalashewski, under contract with the county. And then I inform him what repairs the homeowner is seeking. And he goes out to the home physically. Sometimes I accompany him. Sometimes it's appropriate. Sometimes it's not necessary. But he goes to every home and he assesses what the homeowner's complaint or concern is. And he doesn't study the house top to bottom. We're not here to bring homes up to code. We don't have the dollars for that. But if something is blatantly obvious, if something electrical is standing out as a fire hazard while he's in that home, he's going to bring that to my attention and he's going to say, yes, I think we should repair the leaky roof, but I don't think we should put a dime into it unless we address their electrical problems too. We don't want to spend our money on something that's just another problem waiting to happen that could be very serious. So he may come back with a report that's a little more expensive than what the homeowner actually is asking for. It does happen occasionally. So once we have his recommendation on what our program dollars should be used for, if his estimated cost to those repairs falls below $15,000, I take it to the next step and I share it with the homeowner. I ask them if they want to proceed, and then we work together and we start soliciting contractors. If his recommendation and estimate cost exceeds that $15,000, I get to come and see you, or at least a portion of you, to get approval to keep going with that project before we start looking for contractors. Once we get contractors in the mix, we don't have to do a formal bid process because it's an emergency repair program. But we do need to get comparable cost estimates. So homeowners are welcome to bring us contractors that have already looked at their home or that they want to work with. We're happy to work with anybody that wants to work with our program. They have to be licensed and insured. But ideally, we need at least 2 cost estimates. If we get 3 or 4, that's great. And ideally, we would award the low estimate to be who we're going to hire to do the work. So we become the bank in that scenario, and then we create a contract between the homeowner and the contractor. We create the documentation necessary to create that relationship, and then we pay for those repairs. The homeowner is not allowed to lift a finger to help in that repair process. It has to be the contractor and his or her subcontractors doing all of the work. And then upon completion of that project, we do a final inspection, and then we would compensate the contractor what was in the contract price. And then we can collect an administrative fee off of that. So that was a very quick, that's what it looks like on the day-to-day stuff. I think my last slide just kind of talks about, I did talk about administrative fees. Each program has a different way of doing administrative fees. Our program income allows us to take 18% of every dollar that we put into a project. So project cost is, $10,000, we can charge $1,800 in an administrative fee. And then that goes right into the county's records to support the program. HPG program, it's only 15% of the project cost, but it works the same way. And out of those fees, we're expected to have staff, pay our inspector, keep an office, all those fees associated with running the program. Mission My Hope works a little bit differently. So they allow a small administrative fee based on the amount of our our award is 5%. But then we can charge another 10% that's project address specific. So anything pertaining to that specific address, that specific homeowner, we can charge another 10% of that project cost. And then over and above that, we can also we can be reimbursed for soft costs. And so we talked about that in the budget earlier today, where I pointed out that we have a building official or a program inspector line item in the general fund and a program inspector line item within the housing fund, because one program allows us to include it with the cost of the project, and another one says we have to use administrative dollars to pay those inspectors or that inspector. Perfect. This one, I just threw that in there. I knew I would be at the end. Basically, there's myself and a program assistant at the home improvement office. And then it's, we're open full-time, and she's semi full-time. She's considered full-time, but at 30 hours a week. And then Mike Kalashevsky is our current program inspector, and he's under contract with the county, which I understand was just extended for another year. I'm very grateful to hear that, because he's been life-saving and getting this office up and going again and making some progress. So I know I took up a lot of your time, and I hope I've condensed it enough, but
We've heard longer.
happy to answer any questions.
You got any questions from Nikki?
I do. Do you have a long waiting list, Nikki?
We actually, that was just a conversation from this morning. We have 3 homeowners on a waiting list. And I just said, we're gonna reach out to those homeowners and invite them in to submit their application because I want to get our funding committed to specific addresses as we go in the winter season, and we're going to hear from homeowners who are struggling with heat issues. And I want to make sure that I don't spend any of our dollars that somebody else who's reached out to us already should benefit from. I just want to make sure that I'm responding to those emergency situations appropriately. So yes and no, not a long list. We've got a lot of applicants right now, and a lot of those, the work is not going to even start until 2024. But we can at least have them eligible and have a plan on what we're going to do. We can work on seeking out contractors. So to get work done in 2023, yeah, no more is gonna happen. But yeah, we can still take applications. We've got the funding available to help anybody that comes to us right now.
People are having a hard time finding contractors that aren't using your program. Do you have a standing list of contractors, or are you also experiencing difficulty with getting contractors to do the work for you?
It's so hard.
Okay.
I've had one contractor that came through for us this summer on a general contractor topic. Mechanical contractors have been wonderful. I have a selection to choose from. That hasn't been a problem, and they're pretty quick to respond. In the excavation world, dealing with septics and drain fields, I've got 3 businesses that have been very responsive to us, and I'm so appreciative of that. Well drillers is a nightmare, not because they don't do fabulous work, but they're so busy. And when you say, these people have no water, and he says, so do the 12 people ahead of them. It's really a struggle. General contractors, I wish I had more, but they are not desperate for work. And I would love to work with more, but I've had one general contractor that has really come through for us this summer and done some roof replacements and has done a great job, and I'm very grateful for that. But I would always welcome more. I'm about to create a contract with the homeowner with another contractor, so I'm just so happy to have a second one to do for some work, and I hope it's a good experience so that he'll stick around.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Nikki, just out of curiosity, do you find that most of the people that apply for the program is it more organic where they seek you out, or do you have like churches or other third parties that might help connect you with individuals that they find along the way may need your assistance?
That's a really good question, because I do think that there's definitely an avenue to get the word out there better. And like what you just said, the churches would be a perfect thing. I get a lot of referrals from Habitat. A lot of times it's coming from another organization that is unable to assist them right now. So I feel like we are part of the 211, there's the 211 feature, and callers to 211 will be referred to our program. So I'm really grateful for that. So we definitely get cold calls that have just sought out that kind of assistance, but more community presence is definitely something that I'd like to make a priority, and just get more flyers out there and just get word out.
Thank you.
Thanks again.
I just have one quick question for you. So on average, how many people do apply for these loans, and then how many people are not granted the loans?
We have not denied, I take it back. One homeowner over this past year, once financially would have qualified. Our inspector went out to the home, and it was in such a condition that we couldn't have picked what to do. And it was strongly discouraged not to spend our dollars on that home. So we kind of had some conversations, and it's still conversations that we're having. So we haven't officially denied her. She still has a pending application with our program, but that's still in the works. But I'm really afraid that the home is in such disrepair that with the dollars that we have and what their intended purpose are, I don't know that we can do what needs to be done and still have her in a safe environment. And that may be an adult protective services situation extreme. Okay. But other than that, I haven't witnessed denying anybody. If it's an income eligibility, we know that over the phone because we can't bend those numbers at all. So we've had to turn some folks away just because their income was too high. But they haven't gotten to the application process at that point.
On average, how many do you think you do? How many applicants come through your office?
Oh, no, that's a great, so just in the last fiscal year, I know that we helped 13 homeowners. And that was from July 1 to August 31st. So 13 homeowners out of that pot of money, but that's a good window of time that I know that number by heart because I just did the report. Right now, I have over 20 pending applicants between the various programs.
This next year then?
Yes. Yes.
Because I go back to the question that was, or your admission that we don't have the advertisement, if you will, out there for the people to know about it. Because when I mentioned it to the person that represents my district for older persons, I had told her about the program and she's like, I never knew that. So I think that's part of the messaging is that people aren't aware of it. And I know when we used to do, when the housing was the half an hour, the 15 minutes before finance, and we would do it at that point, we had literally people that would just show up and they were, I think they were in the wrong location, but they were talking about stuff. People don't know that the program exists. And I think that's the issue is that, again, the bad thing is if you get more people putting in for it, then, there's still only so much that you can have.
It is. It's like, I want everybody to know about us, but we're not staffed to really have any more applicants than what we're sitting on right now. And that doesn't mean that we're not welcoming everybody that comes in, but word of mouth is getting out there and better. Brian from the health department is a recent conversation that I just had again, just wondering if we still have funding, because if he has a conversation with a homeowner who's dealing with wells and sewer and septic issues, he wants to know if he can still refer them to our program. Absolutely. And so I call and tell him, please, yes, even if I don't have the money to help right now, today, this month, please send them our way. We'll get them on a wait list. We've got all these dollars to spend. We just have to space out how we spend them. So we've got the money to help. At this point, like I said, I don't believe we're at a wait list. We started a wait list because we needed to hold off on receiving those applications just to keep the office running smoothly. But at the same time, we want everybody to get their share of what we have to offer. So we haven't really had to turn people away yet. Hope I answered that. About way.
Thank you.
I thought your presentation was great.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Get us that presentation.
Yes, I will forward the presentation and I will attach the program guidelines.
Okay, thank you.
Okay?
Okay, thanks, Dickie. Okay, reports of special or ad hoc committees. Facilities Capital Strategic Planning Committee. Travis is not on the line, is he?
No.
Bert, you chaired that?
I chaired it, but I didn't take any notes because I forgot I chaired it. And so I prepared for my other named functions on there. So,
Okay.
but the minutes we just approved it for the consent calendar. So if you're interested, please go look at it there.
Okay, Courts Public Safety, John.
Most of the stuff was in the minute or the meeting minutes. Did have a discussion or a conversation with the people for the family court. Are they, and this is, I guess, a question for you, Mary Catherine, are the current group people that are on that part of that contract?
I'm sure.
Are they aware of that we're looking for applicants, and are they actually being requested to submit their request? So they're aware of it?
Yeah, that notice will go out either later today or first thing tomorrow. But yes, they are aware. And we had that discussion when I had a group meeting with them 2 weeks ago.
Okay, commission reports or other personnel. Yeah, Jesse, I can't forget you.
Again, I would say most of it's pretty cut and dried according to the minutes, but two items. Mary Catherine, I guess it's one thing I'm just wondering. We did discuss possible adjustments to the per diems. Is that something we put on the next finance committee calendar? Discussion point. I know we kind of passed it up.
Yeah.
Okay. Other than that, we had a discussion about changing the 911 position from assistant management director to deputy director. We just felt it was more encompassing of the duties that he's tasked with. And then we discussed basically bonuses versus raises, which again, discussed going forward in budget. Not a lengthy meeting.
Okay, Jess, thank you. PH4.
Unfortunately, Robin or myself were unable to attend that meeting because of budget. And unfortunately, they didn't have a full board, so therefore there was no meeting. So,
That's good news.
well, it depends.
Fair Board, Commissioner Konashevsky, he's not on. So pass on that. Central Dispatch, Mr. Francisco.
So the minutes from that meeting are contained in the consent calendar. However, on 18 October, we met. There were 4 policies that were reviewed and approved by the board. The first one is a car deer accident with airbag policy. Basically, the medical first responders, the ambulances, wanted a revised policy because they were automatically going to a scene anytime an airbag deployed, whether there was any injury or not. So they refined that so that medical first responders and the ambulance crews don't have to deploy unless the law enforcement officer on the scene says, yep, there's an injury, or the individual proclaims that, yeah, I don't feel real well. So then they would go ahead and respond. The second one was a wrecker policy, specifically the no preference wrecker policy and state certification or state registration. And Kim, if I'm butchering that, please help me out with that. But basically what the 911 dispatcher policy was going to be regarding the dispatch of a wrecker. Expect that there's no precedence and there's a rotating schedule. You move to the top and move to the bottom, et cetera. Third one was airport emergencies. And as I recall, Kim, that was more on the mutual aid agreement with CRTC for the airport emergencies. Yeah. I think so, yeah. And the fourth one was an enlightening topic. We talked about morgue operations and body coolers in the event of a catastrophic event. So that was the policy that was reviewed by law enforcement and approved. Subject to questions, that's what
Yeah, we
did
got
at
a morgue.
Central Dispatch. Yes, we do.
Never had a body in it, have we?
Not yet.
I shouldn't laugh, but there was a long discussion.
Okay, Central, hello. Michigan Northeast, Northern Counties Association, Travis isn't here, Community Corrections, Travis isn't here. Bowl landfill, we're getting really close to the injection well being operable. Last piece is getting fabricated and it should be installed within a week. That's all I got from MOA. Here.
So I actually have something.
You do?
Oh, yeah. So we had a meeting last week, discussion. Well, one of the biggest things that probably everyone is aware of is that we don't have DARE officer, or the county or the city. Because as the sheriff has indicated, and it probably Chief Hamp has indicated that it's a specific person that really needs to do that. But anyway, we did have a discussion. One of the things of our recent meeting last week was, and again, I think this is as a result of, I know it's as a result of the PUT group from the high school, Romeo Bordage, did not turn in his application to the youth and rec in time. So basically, he was looking to get, I think it's 14,000 roughly. So he basically went out and has been looking for funding sources for that. He did go to Leanne Schultz's, the Alpena Alcona Area Credit Union Board. And so she had mentioned that he had come to a group of the different credit unions looking for funding. They indicated that they're going to dedicate 2,000. So as the DARE board, because of what they do, what Kaput does, DARE has dedicated or approved 2,000 and given to the Kaput group. So that will help with them. One of the other discussions was because we don't have DARE officers, they were trying to figure out ways to get the messaging out to the students. And I guess one of the ways, which will be discussed at our next DARE meeting in January, is through a Teams program that Chief Hamp mentioned. Eric, can you speak to that, or do you know more about that Teams?
Teams is just a different program. Same principle as AIR. I mean, you're trying to just get in, build those relationships with kids. Little different requirements in the program. Like the DARE program, you have to be a certified police officer. There's some different criteria for that Teams that is just more modern, that might be better fit for our. So we're kind of exploring going to a Teams approach instead of doing DARE.
And one of, it wasn't the MSU trooper, or did I say that? MSU? MSP trooper. I got, MSU right. The MSP trooper isn't he?
MSP provides the training, so it's more local here in Michigan. There is a trooper. Their community service troopers, I think, all go through that training. But even our former DARE, Christina Benarski, is team. So it's not, the training is not as intensive as the training. So that would help also get the program up and running quicker.
So one of the things is we'll have a discussion and presentation.
Good. You're on the bottom here, Mr. Malone, Northeast Michigan
I
Consortium.
know you guys don't like to listen to me talk. I don't usually have to speak so often. They did approve a 3% one-time merit increase for hours worked for staff based on annual evaluations. They did get that approved. They've actually had a important issue lately with agitated and hostile people coming into their offices. So a lot of their emergency protocols were discussed and how to handle them. And then the other thing too, I want to make sure I covered was the Michigan Works Association Director Ryan Hunt was nominated to the NAWB, which is the National Association of Workforce Boards, which is a big deal for Michigan to have a representative from our state on that. So that was actually a really big deal. Great news for Michigan. That's about it for that.
Okay, NMMMA.
So the Materials Management Authority last met on 28 September, but the NEMCOG meeting conflicted. So I attended NEMCOG and Mary Catherine attended the NMMA meeting.
Yes, so things are gonna limp through to the end of the year with NEMA. They were looking at the potential of maybe needing to shorten up some hours, but with some adjustments to staffing and staffing patterns, are able to maintain current operations as well as current bin placements through the end of the year. Looking at renegotiating the contract with Emmett County for hauling materials to Emmett when we are not able to process here in Alpena. The very good news is that when RRS, the consultants, put pencil to paper in regards to the facility, actually came up with a couple $100,000 worth of savings, which is really, really fantastic because we did not receive that EPA grant. But it looks like we'll be able to push forward with continuing on our construction schedule that will start site prep in the spring.
And the next meeting is this Thursday, the 26th of October.
NEMCOG word.
So at the last NEMCOG meeting, actually the last NEMCOG meeting was last Friday, the 20th, but we didn't have any representation because we were involved with budget workshops. But at the meeting prior to that on 28 September, the most discussed topic was again the Eagle and the materials management planning. And we've had Nico Tucker from NEMCOG who came to one of our previous meetings, and I'm trying, Ways and Means, thank you, was there to talk about what NEMCOG can provide and to discuss again regional planning. And our chairman, he mentioned that just a little bit ago here in one of our discussions of when the GFL gentleman was providing public discussion. The next meeting, there is no November meeting for NEMCOG. The next meeting is December 21st.
NEMSCA.
I have no update at this time. They were short because we are not the only ones going through budget. So there is no report at this time. There's no.
Another Michigan regional entity, Commissioner Francisco.
So the last meeting was September 11th. The next meeting is November the 6th. At the last meeting, reviewed basically the FY24 liquor tax revenue, PA2 funds, they are called. FY23, when they reviewed funds by county, I noted that Alpena County has a fund balance of $262,012. And the agencies that are most benefited from this are Catholic Human Services, Community Mental Health, and there are a few others, but those are the big recipients of NMRE dollars, PA2 funds.
Okay, Parks, Commissioner LaHaye.
Parks are all closed down, or if they're not closed down, they're close to it. And they've had a pretty good, decent year. And the ramp at Long Lake, they're working on that. They did a lot of dredging there. There's a lot of extra material out there. I don't know what you're gonna do with that, but, so there's not much going on at Parks.
Planning.
I missed that meeting, I attended the funeral there.
Okay, Road Commission.
I attended for Commissioner
You
LaHaye.
did?
I did. October 3rd was the date of the meeting that reviewed the managing director's report and the road superintendents. They have a new road superintendent, by the way. It's John Bigden Jr. He's the new guy. The biggest issue that was discussed during public comment were the issues of dust control on Beaver Lake Road. That's been a very vocal group. And again, the county road commission is working very hard, I think, with Sanborn or Osneek Township, trying to resolve that for the residents on that road, but it is still a work in progress and unresolved. They approved all the September purchases and the September bills. Staff wages were discussed for FY24 and approved for their staff personnel. They have an unrestricted cash fund balance right now of $3,566,000 and some change.
Good. Target, Commissioner Osmer.
Actually, if you're okay, Chairman, I think I have the next three, so I'll just kind of go.
Go right down through them.
All right, here we go. Target, unfortunately, I missed that one. I had two other meetings that day. I thought I could make the third one and did miss that one. I tried getting an update to present here and wasn't able to secure that information, so I apologize. The next one is Thunder Bay Marine Sanctuary. They're moving their meetings from 4 times a year up to 5 times a year. They presented information on a summer camp that they did this year. They got some good feedback from. The film festival went very, very well. It's considered a success. And I don't have the title of the movie, but there's going to be the premiere of a big movie. The executive director and his staff is extremely excited about. So as soon as I get that title, share that. And then on veterans, I subbed in for Commissioner Francisco. Other than 2 events being announced that they were having, which have since passed, a good chunk of the conversation dealt with the fact that a lot of the veteran service organizations take turns covering the cost of a parade out to Little Flanders Field. And it's about $400 to $500 a year. They're having difficulty finding funding for it this year. So they're thinking about canceling it or restructuring it. In the meantime, they're trying to work towards finding funding.
Thank you. Thank you all, commissioners. Special orders? Nothing? Unfinished business or general orders?
I do have something I want to talk about.
Okay.
I felt sorry for Kim. The last meeting, she was overlooked. It was finance. So I just want to ask, do you have anything of wisdom you'd like to tell to us about?
Thank you.
You can't tell us nothing.
Can't tell us anything.
Correspondence?
Thank you.
Nothing? Any new business come for the board? Public comment. Anybody here for public comment?
I have a question.
Go for it.
Go for it, girl.
I do. I guess I'm just seeking maybe if there's any clarity or even an update when it comes to what's going on at the fairgrounds. Because I'm dealing with about 250 kids, I am getting probably a lot of income and flux. And every time I talk to a different person, I'm kind of getting a different perception of what is happening. So I guess I'm just wondering if there's any clarity or anything that I can kind of just generally give back to the public when I am getting that of what the conversation is or the goal, because I guess there's, oh, they're selling it, or they're trying to close the fair, or the grounds are going. So I'm just wondering if there's like some maybe clarity of exactly what that discussion is or how that discussion is. I don't know.
There hasn't been much discussed on it. There is going to be an ad hoc committee formed to go through it, but You know, it's again, it's the stuff that you're hearing that we're hearing.
Yeah, I just, depending on who you talk to, there's just different perspectives or perceptions of what's happening. So I just, clarity for me, maybe in the public that I'm dealing with, or those kids and those families, I'm getting a lot.
Did Mary Catherine? I don't think we haven't really.
No, you guys had requested me to try to put together a strategic planning session in regards to the fairgrounds to talk about it. And so I am working on getting some funding to do that. But other than that, there is nothing.
Okay.
I even had a family member come up to me during the fair when I was working the Red Barn, and they said, "What's going on? I heard it's getting plowed down. They're putting a casino." And I was like, oh, no.
Yeah, there's tons.
I mean, the rumor, they were wild. I've been approached by quite a few. I'm like, that's not true. And I was like, I'd probably be the biggest customer, but no, that's not happening.
Yeah, there's been just lots. So I just wondered if there was kind of clarity of, and then like the Parks and Recs, then there's a little bit of the Parks and Recs that we're going to turn part of it to Parks and Recs, the campground
That
that's
decision
there.
hasn't been,
Okay, but that is a discussion, I guess, just.
it's been brought up.
Okay,
The Parks Commission and then obviously the full board would have to approve that.
okay. Just to help me on my side, and try to help clear up those conversations.
No news.
Cause yeah, there's lots of, I haven't heard the casino one, that's definitely.
I heard that years ago.
Yeah, they're gonna put apartments there.
That was Aunt Connie.
Yeah.
Asked me that one. I was like, no.
There's been.
I see that
Thanks.
Bob is here. Could you give us a report?
Here, got 3 minutes.
He wasn't on the agenda.
Robert, 227 Dawson.
You go ahead and talk.
Update on the Long Lake Park boat launch. The work in the water is done. The silk curtain's been pulled. The ramp, as of yesterday evening when I was there, they're still waiting for the last 8 pieces of concrete. They'll take them half hour or so to put it in place, and the ramp will be done. They dredged out 2,200 yards of material from the lake, including a lot of clay. They expected that what they dredged out would be usable as fill, but what they dredged out was clay and shale. And some of these rocks are 6-7 feet long and 3 feet high, and they're 5-ton rocks. They're going, well, the cost of these rocks, if you were to purchase these, are like $300 a piece. So they wanted to, because we had all this material and nothing to do with it, we couldn't use it as fill. And so they were talking to Eagle to see if they could make a fishing pier along the edge of the channel, but that's it to amend the permit. So that's going to take time. So we had them sort the large stone, the expensive stuff out. And then there was still, what do we do with this fill? So between the park and the new parking lot, there's going to be a berm. And what they were able to do was dig good fill out of that space. They dug a hole from here to probably McInerney's, and it was up to 6 feet deep. They got all the fill out of there, and then they're putting the clay back in there, the clay and the unused rock back in there. So there'll be a definite separation between the parking lot and the campground, and be a green space. They were able to do the excavation and the sorting of the rocks in about 2 days. And so I expect that that's could be done. They're at a point now where they're going to take the top of the old parking lot off. That will be used as fill to fill up between the parking lot and the water's edge. And we won't be, I believe we won't have to be purchasing any fill for that. They'll be ready to pave fairly soon, but the question now is, this late in the year, are they going to pave, or are they just going to put it off until spring? Let things settle down and pack in, and maybe have a better job if they do it in the spring. There's a lot of progress. I really hope that you guys take time to go out there and see what's going on.
I was out there.
It's very, very impressive what's going on.
And thank you for the pictures. I appreciated that. Yeah.
Thanks
It
for,
looks great.
thanks for all the work you're doing on that, Bob, for the years.
Yeah,
Oh,
not a
yeah.
problem. I've enjoyed it very much. Any questions?
Yeah, you're just doing a great job. Yes.
Thanks, Bob.
Thank you, Bob.
Thanks, Bob.
Anybody else for public comment? Anybody online, public comment? Anybody raising their hand and jumping up and down?
Oh, I do have a comment. I don't know if it's public or not, but I'm just saying it anyway.
Yeah, a bunch of stuff.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just, we keep adding these ad hoc committee meetings and we're supposed to be cutting down on the budget. But with these meetings, it's like an ad hoc after an ad hoc. And that was why we put all our meetings together to downsize our meetings. And it just seems now that we got all these meetings together, we're still ad hoc after ad hoc.
Maybe
So I don't
should
think
have
we're
an ad hoc to look at the
not
ad hoc.
saving.
God, stop it.
We're adding money instead of saving money.
We got a motion to adjourn.
Yes,
I got a
I'll make a motion.
Got a second? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Now keep on going.
Just go home. You're second. I don't.
Osmer.
Commissioner Osmer.
Osmer.
I don't know that we will have an ad hoc.
Thank you.
I think.
Yeah, I make